If I had known that the shivering little girl I found on the sidewalk would lead me to the most powerful woman in the city and change the entire direction of my life, I would have stopped sooner. But fate doesn't warn you. It just throws people into your path and waits to see what kind of heart you have. The little girl on the sidewalk. Rain had been falling all morning, stitching thin silver lines across the windows of the old truck. As Daniel Harris drove home from another failed job interview, he kept telling himself it was fine, that something would work out, that he just needed one employer willing to look beyond the gaps in his resume. But it still stung every time he shook a hand and heard "we'll call you." His savings were thinning fast, his rent was late, and his 9-year-old daughter, Emma, had learned to smile when she wanted to cry, so he wouldn't feel worse. Daniel's heart ached thinking of her. He'd promised to be both mother and father after his wife died 3 years ago, and he wasn't about to lose that fight now. But fate tested people when they were at their lowest, and Daniel learned it the hard way. The moment he turned down Oak Ridge Lane and spotted something small and pink near the curb, at first he thought it was a backpack or a jacket until it moved slow, trembling. He slammed the brakes, jumped out, and found a little girl no older than 6, soaked through, hugging her knees as cars splashed past her. Her hair clung to her face. Her jacket was too thin for the cold, and she looked around with the scared, lost eyes of someone who suddenly felt very small in a very large world. "Hey, sweetheart, hey, it's okay," Daniel whispered, crouching low so he didn't tower over her. "My name is Daniel." "I'm a dad. Are you hurt?" She flinched at the thunder, then finally looked up at him. I lost my mommy." Her voice cracked on the word mommy, as though speaking it made the fear real again. Daniel felt something in his chest twist. "Okay," he said softly, shrugging off his jacket and wrapping it around her tiny body. "You are safe now." "What's your name?" "Lily." He lifted her gently, feeling how cold she was, and carried her to the truck where the heater hummed back to life. Lily held Daniel's jacket like a shield, sniffling, rocking back and forth. Daniel handed her Emma, some emergency snack stash granola bars shaped like stars, and Lily devoured 2 without pausing to breathe. "Do you know where you last saw your mom?" Daniel asked. Lily shook her head, tears gathering again. "There was so many people, and a man shouted, and Mommy let go of my hand, and I got pushed, and I did know where she went." Daniel could imagine at a crowded downtown event, a child swept away in confusion. He tried calling the police, but lines were clogged from storm issues. He did to want to leave her alone in the station, and he did to trust the world with fragile things. So he did the one thing that came naturally to him. He protected her. They drove slowly through the city, checking plazas, bus stops, parks, but no sign of any desperate mother searching for a missing child. Hours passed. The sky grew darker. Lily fell asleep against his arm, gripping his shirt like he might vanish if she let go. Daniel felt his worry building, not just for Lily as mother, but for what would happen if he could. To find her by nightfall. Authorities would come, questions would be asked, judgments would be made about a single dad driving around with a lost girl. So he took her home. Emma opened the door, her eyes widening at the girl in Daniel's arms. "Dad, who is that?" "A friend who needs help," he whispered. Emma, intuitive beyond her years, nodded once and immediately fetched blanket and soup like she had been preparing for this moment her whole life. She and Lily bonded instantly, whispering secrets and drawing tiny hearts on each other as palms. For the first time all day, Lily smiled, small but real. As the hours crawled by, Daniel kept trying every hotline and police contact he knew. He even drove back out twice, searching again. The city felt too big, too indifferent to one missing mother. He couldn't stop thinking about how terrified she must be. And then, around midnight, Daniel heard a knock, a pounding on his front door. He opened it to 2 police officers, and behind them, a woman in a black coat, soaked from the rain, her hair plastered to her face, her breath shaking as if she run miles barefoot. The moment she saw Lily in his arms, she collapsed forward with a sob that tore the air apart. "Lily, Lily, baby." She pressed her daughter to her chest, crying into her hair with desperate, aching relief. Lily clung to her with the same fierce urgency. Daniel breathed out shakily, the stress melting away. The woman finally looked up at him, and for a second, he forgot how to inhale. Her face was pale with fear and exhaustion, but there was something unmistakable about her poise, her strength. Her eyes were sharp, intelligent, commanding, the kind that didn't belong to ordinary life. "Thank you," she whispered hoarsely. "You saved my daughter." Daniel nodded. Anyone would have done the same. Her gaze softened as if she knew he didn't believe that. But before she could say more, officers surrounded her, asking questions, taking statements. Daniel stepped back, his heart strangely heavy, even though this was the ending he'd hoped for. But as the woman carried Lily outside, a black SUV pulled up. Men in suits. Security. High-profile level security. Daniel realized then who she was, not by name, but by presence. This was no ordinary mother. His world had just intersected with someone far beyond his pay grade, someone who didn't belong in his orbit, someone who looked back at him just once more, as if she wanted to say something but couldn't, not yet. And then she was gone. Daniel thought that was the end of it. But fate was only warming up. I thought helping a lost child was the end of the story. I had no idea the next morning I'd be summoned into a skyscraper I had no business entering. Or that the woman I'd helped wasn't just wealthy. She was the city's most private billionaire, and she wanted to see me alone. Meeting the billionaire mother, Daniel barely slept. Not because he was worried, though he was, but because something about the woman's final look lingered in his mind, a mixture of gratitude and curiosity. Almost like she wanted to understand the man who stayed with her daughter for 9 hours without expecting anything in return. But Daniel pushed the thought aside. He was a mechanic without a job. She was someone who traveled with security convoys. Their worlds didn't meet. But at 9 a.m., they did. A black SUV rolled into the parking lot of his apartment complex. 2 men stepped out, straight-backed, formal. The taller one approached Daniel with a respectful nod. "Mr. Harris? Ms. Valentina Crest would like to meet with you." Daniel blinked. I'm sorry, who?" "Valentina Crest," the man repeated. "Owner of Crest Industries. Your presence is requested." Daniel froze. Crest Industries wasn't just big, it practically owned half the city. Real estate, technology, aerospace, medicine. He'd seen that name on skyscrapers, magazine covers, billboards. Billionaire. Philanthropist, but also famously private and unreachable. And now she wanted to meet him. Daniel didn't have a suit. He didn't even have clean boots, but they insisted. And within minutes he was riding in the SUV, his heart thudding like a slow drum. When they reached the Crest Tower, 60 floors of silver and glass, Daniel felt like he was trespassing into someone else's destiny. Employees whispered, security nodded, doors opened with silent recognition. He was escorted up to the top floor, where a massive office overlooked the entire skyline like a kingdom. There she was. Valentina Crest stood by the window, dressed in a simple cream blouse and black trousers that somehow looked more elegant than anything Daniel had seen in magazines. Her hair was tied back, her expression calm but warm, and when she turned toward him, her eyes softened exactly like they had last night. "Mr. Harris," she said with a kind smile, "thank you for coming." Daniel swallowed. "Ma'am, I didn't want any trouble." She stepped closer. "You saved my daughter." No, she said gently but firmly. "You protected her, fed her, comforted her, and spent hours searching for me without once thinking of yourself. That is not just anything." Daniel felt his throat tighten. He didn't know how to respond to someone so powerful speaking to him like he mattered. Valentina gestured to a chair. "Please, sit." He did. She sat across from him, folding her hands. "Lily told me everything, how kind you were, how your daughter Emma gave her blankets and drew flowers on her hand to make her stop shaking." Her voice wavered. "Just a little. You should know, Lily lost her father 2 years ago. She hasn't trusted a strange man since. But she trusted you." Daniel felt that in his chest like a quiet explosion. Valentina continued. "I watched the security footage after she went missing. I saw her get pushed away in the crowd, and I saw myself lose her. I should have held her tighter. I'm raising her alone. And sometimes," she paused, "sometimes I feel like I'm failing." Daniel shook his head, surprising even himself. "You came for her. You never stopped looking. That's not failing." Their eyes met, a moment of shared vulnerability between 2 single parents doing their best to survive the weight of the world. Then Valentina took a breath. "I didn't bring you here only to thank you." Daniel nodded stiffly, unsure whether to brace himself or hope. She slid a folder across the desk. "I saw your resume." Daniel stiffened. "I didn't apply for anything." "No," she said. "But I asked around." She smiled lightly. "You're known for helping people. Every reference mentioned your character first, skill second." He blinked, stunned. "I would like to offer you a position," Valentina said. "A stable one, good salary, benefits for your daughter, and the freedom to grow." Daniel stared at her. "Why me?" "Because my daughter trusts you," Valentina said simply. And because the world needs more men like you in positions that matter. He exhaled, overwhelmed. I don't know what to say. Say yes, she whispered with a small smile. He did. The job wasn't charity, it wasn't pity, it was a recognition of something he had forgotten he possessed worth. Valentina personally walked him out, her presence warm, steady. When the elevator doors opened, she hesitated before he stepped in. Daniel, one more thing. He turned. If you ever need anything for yourself or your daughter, please come to me. You helped me find the most precious thing in my life. I'll never forget that. Daniel nodded, feeling a depth of gratitude he couldn't put into words. As the elevator doors closed, Daniel knew one thing with absolute clarity. Helping a lost child hadn't just changed his day. It had changed his entire future. And somewhere deep inside, as the city blurred below, he wondered whether fate was still not finished with him, or with Valentina Crest, because this felt less like an ending, and more like the beginning of something neither of them had seen coming.